Hello, coolers. Welcome back to Viva Barca and welcome to another interesting episode where we are going to discuss on some interesting updates. We start with Rafinha as manager Xavi still counts on Rafinha big time for the season despite his costly error that cost him a red card ban for 2 games. We are going to discuss on that as we move ahead. Secondly, talking about this transfer report claiming that Barca have withdrawn on the chance to sign this 15 million rated Brazilian attacking midfielder who plays for Al Nassr by name Anderson Talisca. We are also going to be discussing more on that. So guys, as we get right into the full stories, please do ensure to subscribe if you haven't. Turn on the post bell notification to always stay notified whenever I post a new video. Consider liking the video and please watch it right up to the very end. As the final stages of the transfer window unfold, fans and observers brace themselves for unexpected twists and turns that could leave lasting imprints. Barcelona continue to prioritize exit operations in the front line, with overcrowding in attack necessitating the club to complete sales. But the Catalan Giants deem a few of the forwards as essential pieces of Xavi's project, with Rafinha being one of them. According to a recent report by Sport, Rafinha is untouchable for Deco and for Xavi. They trust in his abilities and believe he will truly leave his mark on the ongoing campaign. Rafinha embarked on the season with a rough start after his very silly challenge in the league opener against Getafe led him to being sent off, shown a red card, and banned for 2 games. However, despite the player's poor error, Rafinha is not considered disposable by the club's hierarchy, and the player even came out to apologize on his public social media platform. Rafinha was approached by a number of clubs at the start of this summer, with Newcastle United particularly prepared to offer a great deal to land the Brazilian, but Rafinha's insistence on staying put in Catalonia and Deco's arrival as the new sporting director, who was once the player's agent and placed great faith in him, ruled out any possibility of a departure. Following Ousmane Dembele's move to Paris Saint-Germain, Rafinha is now considered even more important for Xavi's system. The South American could miss the next couple of games in La Liga against Cadiz and against Villarreal due to that suspension, but in spite of his costly error against Getafe, potentially costing his side the win, his sale is not currently being contemplated by the Barca board. Of course, Rafinha still remains an important player for us, despite everything that happened. Rafinha has been a player that have been putting up his best to ensure that he makes Xavi happy. Rafinha is a player that since coming to Barca last summer, he has always been pushing and pushing so hard to improve. Last season, Rafinha was one of the key players that we had, even though he was not at his best. He was not that consistent, to be honest. He was not that consistent, and we can see a Rafinha who is trying to put all his best to ensure that he helps the team to win matches. Like for instance, when we saw like last season, it was even more regular when, for example, Xavi would always substitute him, and you see Rafinha leaving the pitch with so much anger, so much rage, so much rage, and he feels so disappointed. Of course, Rafinha still continue to be an important player, more so as Ousmane Dembele have left the club to PSG. Rafinha is assumed to have now taken a lot of roles or more roles on his shoulders, to deliver, and I think more game time as well, because we quite remember Rafinha and Dembele were the one fighting for that right back spot, and now that Dembele is no more there, Rafinha has that position his own fully, because we know that there were some moments last season that Rafinha was benched a lot because Xavi was putting but Dembele on the right flank. But now Rafinha will have a lot to prove himself on that right flank where he is best suited, especially as Dembele now is no more a Barca player. So let's just see how it goes for Rafinha, because he'll be out for 2 games. He'll be a big miss. There's no surprise about that. but we have a lot of wingers now in the squad with Ace Abday and Lamine Yamal showing interest. Putting in fact Lamine Yamal who have been making who have been doing a lot to ensure that the Barca fans are excited about the new prospect. Will be there to fill in the boots for Rafinha for these two matches that he won't be available. So let's just see how it's going to go for Barcelona. Let's just see how the next two matches will be without Rafinha. But I definitely think that at least in that role, there's a lot of depth because we also have players like Ferran Torres who can play the right wing. So I think he'll be a big miss, no doubt. But if Xavi can rely on these other players that we have just mentioned, then I don't think we're going to miss him that much because those are also quality stars there on the flanks, and I believe that they are going to do such a marvelous job there for those two games. You know, Rafinha was linked with an exit from Barca earlier on this summer. Newcastle were the most talked about club showing interest. Chelsea also came back to the fall to sign him, but of course, Barcelona refused all those offers, and Xavi continues to prioritize the player as one of his key members to his team. Then moving on to the next story of discussion, Barcelona appear closer to completing the capture of Joao Cancelo. According to new reports, the Portuguese arrival could therefore help solve one of the club's glaring problem areas. However, the job is not done yet. The club must still find an attacker who can replace the outgoing Dembele this season. With Neymar going to Saudi Arabia now and Bernardo Silva becoming seemingly unaffordable, that job has become even more difficult. In a surprising turn of events, Barca have been given the odd opportunity to snap up one of Saudi League's highest rated players, according to a new report from Sport. The player in question is Anderson Talisca, as per the report. Al Nassr have offered Barca that opportunity to sign the Brazilian this summer as part of their plans to reinforce the attack. Al Nassr had signed Talisca in 2021, but they do not require his services anymore as the club look to add more high-profile players. Interestingly enough, Al Nassr are the same club that have shown the desire to sign Clement Lenglet, so it will be interesting to see whether Barca can work out a deal between those two parties. So Talisca, whose market value currently is 15 million euros, was once Europe's best hidden gems when he used to ply his trade for Besiktas. But even after his move to China and subsequently Saudi Arabia, the attacker has continued to perform really well. After Al Nassr, Talisca has racked up 44 goals and 8 assists in just 66 games, making him one of the best performers in the oil-rich country. So guys, with that, we have come to an end of this episode. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, bye bye.